Hi, I'm Natalie Soffinelli. Join me today as we see what's happening right here in the Lackawanna Heritage Valley. It's coming up next. On this edition of Views from the Lackawanna Heritage Valley, we'll take a look at the Scranton River Walk, a multi-purpose recreational trail along the Lackawanna River. We'll also talk about how LHVA is helping the teachers of today educate their students about our region's heritage. And we'll have an in-depth conversation with Senator Robert P. Casey about how we celebrate our heritage, environment, and economic development. We're here today at the Pennsylvania Anthracite Heritage Museum, where the history of Northeastern Pennsylvania comes alive. The Lackawanna River played a very important role in the lives of the earliest settlers of our region. One of the most exciting projects that the Lackawanna Heritage Valley is involved with right now is the Lackawanna River Heritage Trail. When it's finished, this 40-mile multi-use trail will follow the Lackawanna River from Forest City to Pittston, and it will provide great opportunities for walking, biking, hiking, and other recreational activities. Recently, LHVA had a groundbreaking for the Scranton River Walk. We have this report.
One of the ways in which the Lackawanna Heritage Valley Authority is making this region a better place to live is not just by working to preserve the heritage of the region, but also by connecting its citizens to the river. The Scranton River Walk will be the gateway to the Lackawanna River Heritage Trail and a key element in the trail system. This 1-mile trail will extend from West Olive Street to North 7th Avenue and connect the Riverwalk to Scranton High School, providing a safe walking route for students to and from school and their neighborhoods. A project like this just doesn't happen. It's partnerships that LHVA builds that make projects like this possible.
It's really thrilling to see the number of groups that have come together, worked together from PennDOT, DCNR, River Corridor, the Heritage Valley being the umbrella for it all, the units of government, everyone's seeing the value really of the trail. Some of the cities that we admire most in the world are cities that appreciate the river and have respect for the river and utilize the river.
It's a great day. We've invested $750,000 in the trail. We've also agreed to take on the maintenance of the trail, and we've provided some additional study money. So we're actively involved in it. We're encouraged by the progress, and this is really about bringing government, private, industry, and community together. This is going to feed our schools, it's going to feed a healthy lifestyle, and it's really going to bring all the components of what the future is. It's going to bring them all together, and it's going to bring them together right here in the Lackawanna River.
Robert Durkin was the first executive director of the Lackawanna Heritage Valley Authority and was in on the initial planning of the trail system.
This was one of the first important elements in the discussion of the trail, and what I think is critical about it is it's part of the process of turning people's attention back to the river. Historically, through the industrialization of the downtown and actually the entire corridor, people turned their backs to the river. Industrial complexes had their backs to the river. What we always said was critical to the concept of heritage development and returning to the history of the Lackawanna Valley was to get people to recognize the river was here first, is the gem people built up originally around the river. Now we have to do is trails like this will bring people's attention right back to the river itself, probably the crown jewel of the entire valley.
A project like this also takes a tremendous amount of planning and years of development to complete.
Well, we're really excited about it. We've been working on this project for 20 years. We've had some minor successes, but this is really a home run right here in the downtown corridor. We worked with the Heritage Authority about 6 years ago, and we decided to reprogram some funds to really make a big statement. And it takes that long because we're working with any number of government agencies. We have the Department of Transportation, Department of Interior, Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, all those agencies at the state and federal level and local government to get all the paperwork done. The construction's the easy part. The groundbreaking that we're seeing here today, there was 6 years of paperwork and fundraising and phone calls that went into that. So I really want to compliment the work of the Heritage Authority in partnership with the River Corridor and all the other local government partners to get this to happen. And we're looking forward to the ribbon cutting in another 10 months or so when we get this finished. And then on to the next steps, the Greenway study, integrating the trails with the levees through Greenridge and North Scranton, tying all that into a further riverfront development here, and then moving up valley with that. We can replicate this kind of development pattern in the Mid-Valley area, in Oliphant and Archibald and Carbondale, and on up into Forest City, and then down valley into Old Forge and Pittston and Wilkesboro. So we're looking to make those links outward. There was a lot of comments here today on tourism, visitation, hundreds of thousands of people, potential. The local people, I grew up here in the valley, and for us, it's a way to recreate, it's a way for integrating into a more healthy lifestyle. It's an alternative route. Get your bike and commute to work right along the levee, along the trail. So for all those reasons, we're excited.
The Scranton Riverwalk is scheduled to be completed sometime this fall.
Not only will the Riverwalk offer an attractive and enjoyable recreational green space for residents, the business community, and visitors to Scranton, but it will also provide a catalyst for the revitalization of the city. The Lackawanna River Heritage Trail is very exciting, yet it is only the spine of the Lackawanna Greenway. The Greenway includes all of the open space, mountaintops, parks, lakes, streams, recreational facilities, and existing trails throughout the Lackawanna Valley. LHVA, with funding provided by DCNR and others, is having a plan prepared that will link all of these resources as part of a coordinated greenway system. On Tuesday, June 30th, in the theater at Steamtown National Historic Site, there will be a public meeting. We invite and encourage everyone to come and tell us your ideas and what you would like to see included in the Greenway plan. That is Tuesday, June 30th at 6:30 p.m. at the theater at Steamtown National Historic Site. Please tell your friends and neighbors to come too. Coming up next on Views from the Lackawanna Heritage Valley, we'll have an in-depth discussion about heritage, the environment, and economic development with United States Senator Robert P. Casey. Be sure to stay tuned. Hi, we're here today with Senator Casey. Hi, Senator. Thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to meet with us.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, Natalie. Thank you.
You know, not everybody really understands as well as you do about heritage areas, and you have a particular warm interest, I think, in Lackawanna Heritage Valley in particular, but the heritage program in general, because your father, the late Governor Casey, was the one who started the Pennsylvania Heritage Program and made Lackawanna Heritage Valley the very first Pennsylvania heritage area. Right. We have some challenges, and our main mission is to tell our story and have people understand who we are and what we do. And I know that you do understand that. We're going to have to be reauthorized in a few years and make a case for why we should continue in existence. And I wondered if you could sort of give us your feeling about heritage areas in general and LHVA in particular.
Sure. Well, first of all, with me, it goes back a long way, principally because of my parents and so many people in Lackawanna County who really over more than one generation figured out ways not just to celebrate our heritage, but to make it come alive. It has an obvious historic dimension to it when we think about our industrial history here in northeastern Pennsylvania and what that meant to our economy. But it's even broader than that. There's obviously a cultural aspect to this, a quality of life. And I think one of the reasons my father was such a strong promoter and really a pioneer in this field is he knew the value of it. He knew the value of history and appreciation for our heritage, because you really can't go forward or move forward in a positive way unless you know where you've been and who you are and who we are as a people. But he also recognized the benefit in an economic sense, that this can be a source of economic vitality, not just a reflection or a reminiscence of where we've been and who we are. So it has all of those dimensions to it. It's a celebration of our past and where we've come from, and what our foundation is, really what our values are. But it also has a current value in the sense that there's economic benefits from it. But it also, I think, for the future becomes really a bridge to the next generation. It's important to remember what your values are and where you've come from, but it also has to be current as well. So I think it's very important that at the state level, as you've done here in the county and the region, but also at the state level and the federal level, that we continue to advocate for funding. And as your brochure has a list of important partners, that we continue to foster and increase the list of partners, because this is, I think it's vitally important to our economic future, as well as to a stronger and more vibrant quality of life for Lackawanna County, for Northeastern Pennsylvania, and for the Commonwealth.
Well, thank you, Senator. I love to hear you articulate that, because you do it so beautifully, and sometimes it's a challenge to have people really understand the value. And I think, you know, particularly in this economic crisis, sometimes when you don't have a tangible product,
right,
and you're not showing dollars, although, as you know, we have shared dollars that we've gotten from the state and the federal government, relatively small amounts of dollars, and leverage them sometimes 8 to 1, 10 to 1 into projects in the community that we wouldn't otherwise have. And as you point out, our great heritage here, our immigrant heritage, is so diverse, and it's getting more diverse all the time, and we welcome that, because I like to say that we celebrate history and we celebrate the past, but we don't live in it, as you alluded to. It's vibrant. I feel that, I'd like to think that LHVA has something to do with this new sense of positive possibility in Scranton and the surrounding area. And I'm just wondering, how do you balance something like that versus the dollars and cents that can be quantified exactly with some of the needs of the rest of the state and the nation?
Well, it's always difficult, even when the economy is stronger. You do have to balance priorities, but just as true of funding for the arts. I don't believe that we should only invest in our heritage and our history and in the arts when times are good. My parents, I think, gave me an appreciation for the value of those kinds of investments, no matter what the economy is. Obviously, there are times when funding levels are limited and you may have to cut back, but I believe there's a strong linkage between this kind of investment and the community we have. An investment like this in the kind of workforce that we have, and certainly the quality of life that we have. We should celebrate that diversity that you spoke of. This became, over many generations, this region, this county, this valley became a great melting pot. And what does it say on the coin? E pluribus unum, one from many. That we become one as a community from many. The diversity is our strength, and also when I think about some of our history, I, of course, as a Casey from Lackawanna County, I think of our anthracite history, which we shouldn't just study and learn about and be informed by because of the history and because of our roots. That's important in and of itself. But I find it a source of inspiration as much as education. When I'm trying to articulate why we have to take care of the vulnerable, why we have to make sure that our workers have the skills and that we're investing in our workers, I think of that heritage, that inspiration, the good and the bad, the exploitation and the suffering of it, but also the ability of that group of Americans and that group of residents of places like Scranton and Lackawanna County, they're able to overcome those obstacles to create a better life for all of us. So I think as we go forward, we should think of these kinds of expenditures as investments more than some kind of funding of a program or an initiative. It becomes really an investment in the future.
Pennsylvania actually has the most national heritage areas of any state in the nation, and we're very lucky that we were so designated locally and then nationally because of the significance of that history that you refer to. There's something real special about having generations that understand who they are and where they came from. I think that it would be really wonderful for us if you could become a spokesperson at the national level and perhaps round up some support for the Heritage Program, and you've suggested that you would be willing to do that, so we're very grateful for that.
Well, it's important, and I know that there are other states that have a rich history and a heritage as well. We like being in the lead here in Pennsylvania, and no, we want to continue to be a strong advocate and get other states involved so we can have an aggregation of support so we can continue the investments that I believe we should make.
Well, you referred several times to the economic impact of the heritage areas,
Right.
and I think that's so true because the second leading industry in Pennsylvania is tourism, and in the world it may actually be number one now. And when we talk about quality of life, it's not only for our residents, but also we have so many wonderful historic sites and architecture. You mentioned the art.
Mm-hmm.
We have architecture here that people are amazed by when they come to this area. But also we have Steamtown National Historic Site, the Anthracite Museum, the coal mine tour, which is significant not only for what they are, but because of the collaborations that they represent. We're
Right.
working with federal, state, and local partners on those three sites, just as an example. And they do bring tourism, and that brings economic development to the area, and also community development. You know that a lot of what we do is to preserve the land, and our theme is land, people, industry, which is what our history is all about and what we're significant for, our industrial history. But we find ourselves now doing a lot to right those wrongs that were done to the land. The land gave us the resources to have the industry and the beautiful buildings and the philanthropy, and that makes Scranton a very important city 100 years ago. Well, we think we're very spoiled to have you as part of our heritage, and maybe we expect a little more of you because you're one of us, but I think you give us a lot. I just want to make sure that everybody understands that this is more than history, that we're working now on renewing the environment. And as you know, our signature project is the 40-mile Lackawanna River Heritage Trail. We just broke ground recently for the downtown section of that trail, which we're calling the Scranton Riverfront Riverwalk. And we're moving forward with that. And you've been very helpful in supporting that at a federal level. The environment is one of your concerns as well.
Well, you talk about the river. When you think about the transformation of that river, just from a not just from a natural perspective, an aesthetic perspective, an environmental perspective, but really just the perception of it. When I was growing up, and you'd remember this as well, it didn't have the reputation that it has now. The Lackawanna River, when it was mentioned often in the 1960s and even into the 70s, it was often mentioned in a derogatory way, unfortunately, and that happened in a lot of neighborhoods because it had a negative connotation. It's become now a source of pride. It's become a source of economic strength, but also a source of really a source and a reminder of our quality of life. Not only because we're trying to preserve it and enhance it, but it becomes kind of a marker in our community. So we want to continue to be supportive of efforts like that. In many ways, the river tells a story in and of itself, and it becomes a metaphor for what you and others have been trying to do.
It absolutely is, and you see I wear my little fish because we also have trophy trout in the Lackawanna River now. It's an amazing story how this river has been cleaned up, and is revitalized itself. And the trail, as you said, is the river is symbolic of who we are, connecting all of our communities, which is another mission of ours. Our objective of our mission is to reconnect the people to the river. And we are also doing a major greenway study, not only to connect the river, but the trail along the river to spur trails and parks, other recreational opportunities, lakes and streams, and the entire greenway, which is our designated area.
You know, a couple of years ago, not sure how many years ago, but a guy by the name of Richard Florida, he was writing out of Pittsburgh then, I think out of Carnegie Mellon, has written a number of books, but one of them focused on quality, part of the book focused on quality of life as an economic development tool or instrument, that you cannot just say, we have jobs here, come and work here, that a lot of the newer workers in our economy, so-called knowledge workers who get a certain kind of education where they're applying the skills that they learn through information technology or through other disciplines, that these workers are insisting on and demanding really a certain quality of life. And part of that quality of life isn't just going to a play here and there or having a certain kind of a store available, a place to shop, but really what you're just talking about, having bike trails and scenic vistas and places to have recreation, to bring your family, to do all kinds of things that are part of someone's quality of life, their being, who they are. And so anyone who doubts that these investments along or as part of the river itself, anyone who doubts that that's not a good investment should read that part of that book that talks about the quality of life being an attraction, a magnet for new workers.
I'm familiar with the paradigm that Richard Florida refers to, and that's another point I'd like to make, that we've also been the brunt of jokes about an aging population when actually there are so many young and vibrant people that have rediscovered Scranton, which is a theme of our local Chamber of Commerce, and not only Scranton but all the towns up and down the river, which have become dynamic communities and are becoming dynamic communities. And that's, I think, another one of his quotes, Richard Florida's quotes about the dynamic community and the people that live there. Thank you for being with us, and we hope we'll see you very soon again.
Natalie, thank you, and thank you for your good work.
Thank you.
We look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Coming up next on Views from the Lackawanna Heritage Valley, we'll take a look at how we help area students learn about the history of the region by training their teachers. Stay tuned. I'm Natalie Soffinelli, and welcome back to Views from the Lackawanna Heritage Valley. We're here at the Pennsylvania Anthracite Heritage Museum. A very important part of our industrial history, in addition to coal, was silk and textile manufacturing, where many of the miners' wives and daughters earned money working in the mills to help support the family. Each year, LHVA works in cooperation with the Northeast Educational Intermediate Unit number 19 to present an educational project that makes area teachers aware of the unique history of our region. By visiting the Anthracite Heritage Museum, Steamtown National Historic Site, the Scranton Cultural Center, the Everhart Museum, the Lackawanna Coal Mine Tour, the Lackawanna Trolley Station and Museum, and the Lackawanna Historical Society, the teachers are introduced to many primary resources that these institutions offer so that educators can get their students excited about the unique history of our region. If you are a teacher and would like to get involved in this interesting course, you can contact NEIU 19 for more information. I'm Natalie Soffinelli. Thank you for joining us for another edition of Views from the Lackawanna Heritage Valley.